Let's take a look at rational functions, section 4.1 and 4.2 here in the college algebra class. We're going to look at a rational function, and anytime you see the word rational, all that means is we are looking at something that is in a fraction form. So the functions we're going to take a deeper look at are functions that will occur in a fraction form. So we'll look at finding the domains of these rational functions. We'll look at something called a vertical and a horizontal asymptote. We'll define those later. We'll look at some applied problems and sketch the graphs. So the rational function's going to be in a fraction form. And remember, whenever we have anything that's in a fraction form, we can't have division by zero. So we'll see these functions where we have a polynomial on the top, a polynomial on the bottom, and the polynomial in the denominator is not the zero polynomial. Because we got to remember, we can't have division by zero. So it's constructed of polynomials, but the functions are going to be really strange when we go to graph them. Those graphs are going to look awkward. So we'll need to be able to interpret those. So let's recall, we can't have division by zero. So when I work with the domain of these rational functions, I have to make sure that I exclude any value that would cause me to get division by zero. So let's take a look at these guys. So I need to find the restriction on the domain for these three polynomial functions. So looking at the denominator only, that's all we need to look at. Let's find out where the denominator is going to be zero, and let's exclude those values. So all we need to do is to set the denominator equal to zero, solve that for x, and that's the number we have to exclude. So our domain would be all real numbers, but x cannot equal 2. If you put a 2 in that denominator, you'd get division by zero. And what we're going to find out is something interesting happens at that domain restriction, graphically that is. Okay, let's take this denominator, set it equal to 0, and solve it and find out any restrictions. So if I take the 4 over and square root both sides, I get a plus or minus 2. So for my domain, it's all real numbers. Whoops. All real numbers, but x cannot be plus or minus 2. We have to find these domain restrictions because something interesting is going to happen graphically at those domain restrictions. Finally, let's take this last denominator, set it to 0 to find any domain restrictions. I'll take the 9 over, it becomes a negative 9. I'll square root both sides. And I get plus or minus 3i. Because I'm square rooting a negative number, that brings in imaginary numbers. Since we're working in the real number system, imaginary numbers won't exist. So when you come up with imaginary numbers as your domain restriction, what we're going to find out is there is no domain restriction, because these are imaginary and we're only working in the real number system. So this guy has no restriction. He's just all real numbers. All right, dog. Stop it. Okay, so graphically, what we're going to find out is at these domain restrictions, the first one at 2 and the second one at positive and negative 2, we're going to have something called a vertical asymptote that's going to occur at those domain restrictions. And the vertical asymptote is a vertical line that the graph is going to approach on both sides, but it will never cross over. So it's like a dividing line. You have something happening on the left of it, something happening on the right of it, but you can't ever cross that vertical asymptote. And so we're going to draw it as a dashed vertical line, like you see over here, for this function x plus 4 over x minus 2. we found out that x could not equal 2. So at the value of 2, we're going to draw a vertical asymptote or a vertical line. Now let's see what happens on both sides of this vertical line. So we're going to use our calculator. So let's check that out. When you type this in your calculator, you have to make sure to put the numerator in parentheses as well as the denominator. So I've typed in x plus 4 divided by x minus 2. Let me go to Zoom 6 and take a look at that interesting graph. So notice that my graph is approaching. Remember, we had a vertical asymptote here at 2. So the graph is approaching on the right-hand side of it, and then here on the left-hand side of that asymptote, the graph is approaching it. My calculator is not showing me a vertical line at that asymptote. Some of your calculators will show you the vertical asymptote at 2. So let's go back to our paper. So what the graph shows me is it's coming up on the left-hand side of that vertical asymptote, and then over here, it's kind of coming down on that side. So we get two curves, one on the left, one on the right, and they're both approaching the asymptote, but they will never cross it. So it's a dividing line. We got to see what happens on the left and what happens on the right. And so that vertical asymptote, excuse me, is going to occur at the domain restrictions. Another way to say that is that the vertical asymptotes will occur at the zeros of the denominator. So basically, we're looking at what makes the denominator 0. That's where our vertical asymptotes will occur. Okay, so let's look back at the same three functions and let's state the vertical asymptotes. And this is so important, the way you're going to state them. Because it's a vertical line, we have to state it as an equation of a vertical line. And remember, a vertical line has an equation of x equal to a number. So the vertical asymptote for this first function is x equal 2. I can't just put 2 as my vertical asymptote. I have to state it as an equation, x equal 2. So if we went back and looked at the domain restrictions on the second function, I would have two vertical asymptotes, one at x equal 2 and one at x equal -2. Remember this third function? It had no restrictions. So that means it's not going to have any vertical asymptotes. Now that we know how to find the vertical asymptotes of our rational function, let's go and find some other information about it, like x-intercepts and y-intercepts. So let's recall how to find those. To find y-intercept, we just let all the x's be 0. Basically, plug in 0 for every x. To find the x-intercepts, what we need to do is just find out where is the numerator going to be equal to 0. Or we're basically finding the zeros of the numerator. So we need to remember, vertical asymptotes come from the zeros of the denominator. Y-intercepts come from plugging a 0 in for every x. And the x-intercepts are going to come from finding the zeros of the numerator. So we're going to set the numerator to 0 to find the x-intercepts. We'll set the denominator to 0 to find the vertical asymptotes. And then we'll plug a 0 everywhere for x to find the y-intercepts. Okay, so let's find the x-intercept. And I'm going to set the numerator to 0. So when I solve that, I get x equal -4. So my x-intercept is at -4, 0. To find the y-intercept, I'm going to put a 0 everywhere I have an x. 0, plus 4 over 0 minus 2, and that becomes a what? 4 over a negative 2, which is negative 2. So my y-intercept is at 0, negative 2. Writing those as an ordered pair, remember x-intercept has a 0 for y, y-intercept has a 0 for x. So let's work on this next one. Let's work on the x-intercept. So let's take the 2x squared, set them equal to 0, and solve them. Well, to get rid of the 2, I would divide by 2, so I get x squared equals 0, and surely I can square root both sides, but the square root of 0 is just 0. So I have an x-intercept at 0. What's going to be interesting is anytime you have an x-intercept at 0, you can have a y-intercept at the same place. For the y-intercept, if I put a 0 in place for every one of my x's, I'll have 2 times 0 squared over 0 squared minus 4. And the 2 times 0 squared is a 0 in the numerator over negative 4 in the denominator. And anytime you have 0 in the numerator, it's just 0. So both the x and y intercepts are at 0, 0. I don't like the way I put that. I'm going to put that in another spot because if someone comes back and looks at this note sheet, I want this to make sense. So I'll just write it right there, 0, 0, and I'll write it right there, 0, 0. Okay, finally the last one. X-intercept, we set the numerator to 0 and solve it. When I solve that, I get x equals 3. So I have an x-intercept at 3, 0. And for the y-intercept, I'll put a 0 everywhere I have an x. So I'll get a negative 3 on the top, negative 9 on the bottom. When I reduce that, I get 1/3. So the y-intercept, remember, has a 0 in the x position, 0, 1/3. So for your rational functions, you need to go through this list. We're going to find the vertical asymptotes, which come from the zeros of the denominator. The x-intercepts come from the zeros of the numerator. And the y-intercepts that come from plugging a 0 everywhere you have an x. That's our first list. We're going to add one more thing to that list, which is a horizontal asymptote. So remember, vertical asymptote is a vertical line that you can approach on both sides but never cross. A horizontal asymptote is going to be a horizontal line that the graph approaches on both sides, and this is interesting, you may cross over that horizontal asymptote. You'll see when that occurs. Let's look at the horizontal asymptote theorem. Yeah, we have to have a theorem to find our horizontal asymptotes. So we know that we have a polynomial on the top and we have a polynomial on the bottom. And to find the horizontal asymptote, all we want to do is look at the leading term of the polynomial on the top and the leading term of the polynomial on the bottom. What I mean by leading term, it's the term with the highest degree. So we need to make sure that these polynomials are written in descending powers. Highest power first, and so on. I think in the homework you're going to come across some where it's not written in descending powers. So I think what I'm going to do is stop this video here and start the next one at this point. So see you in a little bit.